Hey, y'all, welcome back to another episode of the Lighthouse podcast, where we shine God's light on real life topics through faith. Today, we're going to be talking about film, pop culture, and how we should deal with it in our faith that grows every day in Christ. Today, I'm joined by my co host, Leo. You guys already know him. And today, I got a really deep question for you, and that's
Yeah.
how do we engage with
With media.
with film, with media? How do we engage with the pop culture that
Is there a deeper reason why you're asking me this, Julie?
Yeah, well,
Is there a confession you have
well,
to make?
you
to
guys
our
didn't see
viewers?
it, but I had a confession, or as we joked, confession. But
Yeah.
I was talking about we all like to binge shows, movies,
Oh yeah.
and how do you deal with how long you should look at certain stuff, or how long, or if you should in general? How do you deal
Yeah,
with that?
yeah. So the how long is it's a tough question because when you think about it, most of us who grew up in a very strong church culture were typically told to avoid these conversations.
Yeah.
And yet the funny thing is that my friends and the people around me, we never avoided it. It's
Yeah.
like we always engaged with it.
Yeah.
And historically, look, let's just go way back. Let's go to like the very early days of the Christian movement. When Christians would first engage with culture, it was always by sharing the idea that Christ is risen, which is a very weird thing. But they live in a Roman culture.
Mm.
They live in a Greek culture. It's all one at that point. So gladiators are a real thing. It's not a movie. It's not. It's an actual
There's
place.
no sharks popping out.
There's literally a place where you go and people will usually be murdered in front of you,
Yeah.
and the crowds are cheering.
Yeah.
And that's just what it was. Greek plays were never really stopped up to that point. You have Roman culture kind of taking over Greek culture, but it's still there. You have and Greek plays had been going on for centuries, so there is that long tradition of visual spectacle. And I'm going to be honest, the earliest Christians basically said, no, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
Because they really felt that those types of things really indulged on our vices, which makes a lot of sense. If you're watching someone get decapitated for fun, that's just something really dark about
Yeah,
about our inner desires or our inner tastes
Mm.
or what we enjoy. And the clear Tertullian is early church father, Augustine. I mean, all these guys that early Christianity. I mean, they really were against all this, and it makes sense. With the world they lived in, which was not, by the way, a Christian infused world. It's a little bit different. It's different from the world that we live in now.
Yeah.
But moving on from there, then you get kind of like to the medieval period. Now you have this kind of global church kind of going on, and believe it or not, there were people they would actually stage biblical plays.
Wow.
So they would put people on a stage and reenact either a mystery or some kind of biblical drama. And even then, you have people kind of saying, well, we can use this to teach people. Great.
And it still wasn't really entirely accepted.
It wasn't
then, right?
always accepted. That's the thing.
That's-
So
wow.
you have that kind of tension going on
Yeah.
there. By the time you get to the reformers, like Calvin and all those people, like there's still that tension between Calvin. I think was the one that specifically made note of the fact that imagination can be misused,
Mm.
which makes sense. I mean, that is true of anything. Anything
Yeah.
can be turned into something wrong. So you understand why there's always been this kind of tension with visual spectacle.
Yeah, it's like how they humanize the bad guy.
Yeah.
Like
And sometimes it's not worth it. It's
Yeah,
not, going
sometimes.
down that route doesn't always work.
mm,
And it seems forced sometimes.
yeah,
But
yeah,
moving into what I would say the 19th century, which is
Yeah.
when our church in particular is born, essentially, that time frame to go to a theater was essentially to walk into a vaudeville act. Now, vaudeville is you see a stage and you see performers, but it's not just what you're seeing. It's not like today where you go into a film and everything gets dim and you look at the stage and it's all about what's happening in front of you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Vaudeville was the whole vibe. It was the performers, women dressed in a particular way, if you know what I mean. Performers that did acts that were questionable, a little bit too on the nose with some of the jokes. Everyone's usually smoking something, and drinking, and it's just the whole vibe. Vaudeville was a vibe.
Mm.
And it's really in that context that our church was born and said, no, we're not going to do that. But something really begins to change by the time you get to the last 100 years.
Mm.
Because now you have this thing called the cinema. Now you have this thing called a movie projection, where you see moving images on a screen, and now we're all gathering around to watch this thing.
Yeah.
And that's where it's gotten way more complicated.
Wow.
That's kind of like a mini history of
Mhm.
how we got here. Because now, let's be honest, our cousins, our little primitos and primitas, I mean, someone in your family has watched Frozen,
Oh yeah.
you know. So
Let it go.
yeah. I mean, it's part of
Yeah.
our culture. We all live with this,
Yeah,
you know. That's why you kind of made the joke of it's almost like a confession, right? Like I have a confession. Like I binge watched this whole season of this, you know. It's like we all have. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
we cannot deny the fact that we have.
Yeah, yeah.
And so what I really want to just emphasize today is, look, there is a way to approach this responsibly. For many people, I think media, film, movies, they're just things that they don't want a part of their lives.
Mm.
Usually it's people who maybe they were just raised in an environment that was really restrictive in that sense, and so it never became a part of their regular lifestyle. And that's fine. But usually what you'll also see is people who probably lived you know, life's not real a life that doesn't really follow, you know, the way of faith.
Yeah.
And so that by the time they do let their faith mature, they usually don't want anything to do with what they would perceive to be worldly issues. And that's, you know, we can't judge anyone for that if that's the way their journey has walked. I think what this episode and this podcast should be more is for those people who appreciate and enjoy film to a point, movies in particular, I guess, but know that that isn't the ultimate thing. The ultimate thing is still our faith. It's what we believe is our principles, our foundation. But there's still that sense of enjoyment or a sense of appreciation. And how can we navigate that conversation? How can we do that responsibly? So let me just ask you this. I mean, what is a film or a genre like that you really seem to enjoy? Let's just be honest to our viewers here. Like,
I'll be honest. Based on storytelling, like based on like, oh my gosh, like that character's arc or
Yeah.
every single thing, I gotta say Star Wars, man. I mean,
yeah.
Star Wars. It's so many movies now, right?
yeah,
But
maybe too many.
before it was
movies.
only 3.
Yeah,
Before it was
those first
the A New Hope. The second one, what? Empire Strikes Back.
Back.
Third one's the
Return
Return of the Jedi. And I mean, as a kid, I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to be Luke Skywalker.
You want to be flying.
I want to be flying the X-wing. I want to be, man. I want to be saving the planet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I want to be helping.
Yeah.
Be that light for someone that doesn't have a light.
So for me, and I think our producer editor, Mr. Benjamin over there knows very well. For me, it was Indiana Jones. That's what got me. I mean, I was just so enamored with the adventure. I mean, talk about adventure. I mean, it's just globetrotting and cultures and languages. There's a reason why I became a history teacher. I mean, I became obsessed with the past, and I really wanted to understand it, and stories and storytelling. The music too. I think both of these films come from friend directors.
Oh yeah.
Or the same creator actually, George Lucas.
Yeah, George Lucas.
And then the music of John Williams. I mean, you really get wrapped into a world, and that's where the storytelling has that power. I think that not everyone always resonates with, but it's there. You can't deny it, and it has that influence on people. So let's talk a little bit about that genre, fantasy, fiction, adventure, because look, at the end of the day, everything is going to have a pro and a con. Oh, yeah. And I think if we just embrace that, then we can maybe navigate this conversation better. Mm-hmm. So when it comes to can I just show you like some of the things that I've jotted down that I think really show us fantasy is often really misunderstood. I remember one time I was in the living room and my grandmother walks in and I was watching, I think it was a Star Wars film, and it's a scene with a bunch of human actors. And then something comes out, some droid or whatever, and then she turns around. She was actually enjoying the cinematography and whatever, and then when she saw that, she was like, "Oh, that's just fake stuff." And she walks away, and I'm like, "That's the whole point, Grandma. It's fake, and we know that. We don't watch it because it's fake. We watch it because we care something about the story or the character or the elements of where it's going."
Yeah, I don't mean to cut you off, but I'll give you another point of view of that.
Yeah.
I'm with my family. Our other producer, Jesse. We when we were at a young age, we're watching something. It's something that has such a beautiful story, but then one little thing comes out that is questionable.
Yeah.
And then at that exact moment is when that family member, maybe like it could be my tia, my tío, they pass around. They're like, "Quiten eso. What is that? Like,
Yeah.
what do you mean?" And then
We don't need that.
and then it's
you
like,
know?
"Oh, we don't need that." That's another point of view. It's
Yeah.
like where it goes from and that's not real, but then it goes from, "Hey, why are y'all watching that?
Yeah.
That isn't that disrupting your faith?"
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. There's always a pro and a con to
Yeah.
this. And how do you navigate it? Well, for one, look, it's often misunderstood, this genre.
Yeah.
But these stories have the weird potential to kind of build empathy through storytelling.
Mm.
They, believe it or not, I think they're really great ways to illustrate kind of deeper spiritual truths, spiritual realities, even if it's just through symbols. Lord of the Rings is kind of the ultimate example of
symbolism.
that.
Yeah,
It's amazing,
yeah,
but
yeah.
they also offer interesting metaphors of just the human experience and the human condition.
Mm.
And in that sense, we're just kind of seeing ourselves through this weird this animal character. You know what I mean? With big eyes and that's talking, you know. It's obviously it's not real, and yet in many ways, by the time you're done watching Bambi, you know, it's very real.
Oh yeah.
You know, like, so what are the cons of fantasy or fiction? I mean, look, I've seen it and I've experienced it. It sometimes these genres can detach us too much from reality. Maybe we get too sucked in to the world that it's building that we forget the world around us.
Yeah.
And we see that a lot with kids sometimes. It's very obsessive. And it's all we can think about. And, you know, I'm going to be honest, I think I was there many times too in my own life.
Oh yeah, me too.
And it's, you know, you look back and you're like, oh man. But look at where we are now. Like,
Yeah.
we very much understand that we're not on Endor. It's like,
Oh yeah.
we don't live in a Star Wars galaxy. We live in this one. We live in the one that God made, in the fallen one, the one that we care about. And we want to help redeem it. And that's part of where I hope that film can help us at least see honest reflections of ourselves and the things that we care about. But, you know, there's also, let's be honest, there's also these kind of supernatural elements sometimes that I think can disrupt the way we think about reality or faith. And we got to be careful with that, you know, especially someone who is maybe barely stepping into Christianity or faith. There's maybe some genres, some films that just aren't worth watching. But let's be honest. The scariest thing I think, actually, to be fully honest, is the fandom culture, because we're all fans of something. We all enjoy putting on a costume at some point. But there are moments where you're like, man, this does feel quite a tad bit idolatrous. You know, it's like,
I had my moment where I bought a Jedi robe.
yeah,
Dude, I mean, we talked about it the other day, right?
Yeah.
Where, some context, we both he went to Disney on a trip, and I was telling him about this robe, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, I bought this robe.
it's a lot of money.
It was a little expensive, but
yeah,
man,
and
I can see myself as the character. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like,
you
whoa.
want to feel like you're part of that world.
Yeah.
And for some people, that in and of itself is already kind of going down a misleading path.
Yeah.
And I can understand that. That sense of, one of the first questions you asked me today was, how much can we actually watch this?
Yeah.
I think the question behind that is indulging in any degree even worth it at all? And that's the hard question. And there's no clean-cut answer to that.
Yeah.
For some people, it is easy. Just don't watch any of that stuff. It's
Yeah.
not worth your time. And I get where they're coming from. But, you know, I honestly think that the adults in our churches and the young people in our churches and the little kids, I mean, everyone's watching some form of media.
Oh yeah.
The more responsible thing to do, I think, is to help build careful criteria of how to approach it, as opposed to just not admitting that we don't engage with it honestly.
Yeah. It's like
Or hiding the fact that we do watch these things.
yeah, like not just saying, hey, don't watch that. Be
Yeah.
like, because I'm betting the people that say that probably do watch some
Yeah.
stuff. Maybe a telenovela.
Yeah, that's what I'm about to say.
There's so much
I'm
stuff.
really convinced
Yeah.
that many of the people in our churches who come from a strong Latino and Mexican
Yeah.
culture, pretty sure they have their favorite novela somewhere
yeah.
from their childhood. You know, it's like
Yeah.
we've all engaged with stories that we care about.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I have really grown to care a lot about characters that are not real at all. They're completely fictional, but you care about it. This might sound weird to some people, but I love my Winnie the Pooh. It's like I really think that these characters are so wholesome and they portray something good about friendship and loyalty and growing and confronting fear. They're such simple, non-real stories that actually help us in the real world a little bit. And I think that's why we're attached to them sometimes. We get something out of it. But now let's move on to something a little bit more dark, something more serious.
Okay.
Because the next series of genres would be like, horror, thriller, suspense.
Yeah.
This is where I think we have to be most cautious and most careful, for a couple of reasons. So when it comes to horror, to this particular genre, to horror, to supernatural elements, all those things, fear is real. Everyone is scared of something, and those films are about primarily fear, either trying to get you to be afraid of something, or showing you what the filmmakers themselves were afraid of when they were illustrating this film, this topic. And so horror actually explores evil and oftentimes spiritual things, spiritual concepts. By the way, the Bible contains plenty of horror. I mean, there's plagues in the Bible, and people go through horrendous things in the Bible. There's exorcisms, for goodness sakes, in the Bible. There, so the Bible doesn't shy away from dark things.
Does not.
But it puts them in a larger context.
And we were talking about this too, because a lot of the things with thrillers, with suspense, evil, or not, well, movies that talk about some evil topics, right?
Yeah.
A lot of the reasons why we're told, hey, don't watch this, don't watch that, is because they're saying it's taking you from your faith.
Yeah.
Or it's not good for you to watch.
Mm-hmm.
But in Ephesians, it tells us it's a spiritual warfare.
Yeah.
It's everywhere there's evil, everywhere there's good. It's all around you.
And I was so glad that when I walked in, because I really wanted to get on this topic.
Yeah.
That shirt you're wearing is the most perfect shirt, I think, for this topic, because faith over fear. I mean, when it comes to horror and that particular, the more dark genres, I'm just flat out try to avoid them as best you can. Let's just be honest, okay? Yeah. They're not the best things to watch, not the healthiest things to watch, but, and this is like a big caveat right here, for our young people in our churches, I grew up in an environment that constantly said those films are like the ultimate gateway to darkness.
Wow.
So you were almost raised to be afraid of those things. Mm. And I, as a teacher, I would sometimes have a conversation or two with Christian students, and they would bring up the topic of how their family would watch this or their friends would watch that, and they could sense this darkness around them, and they felt super uncomfortable. And I'm not going to deny that they experienced those things. All I'm going to say is maybe some of that is just our own paranoia. Mm. And we're letting fear actually dominate us more than what dark powers can actually do to us. We are actually handing over that power. I hope that makes sense. Like, I am not saying that films don't have the potential to induce darkness into us. Yeah. Certainly spiritual things happen, and we can't deny those conversations. But at the end of the day, I think it's wrong to cultivate a Christian culture with our young people in particular that says, be afraid of this, be scared of this.
I mean, it's like straight up saying we don't fear man, we fear God.
Yeah.
Why are we going to fear man-made?
Mm-hmm. Why are we going to fear man-made things? Yeah.
It's like...
Exactly. Yeah. That's kind of my point. It's like there's no real reason, I think, to be fully scared. We can be weary of it. Mm-hmm. We can feel... Obviously, the films are designed to make you feel comfortable. Obviously they're designed, the visuals, the graphics, so there are those things. You can't deny that, obviously. Yeah. Not everyone's going to feel comfortable with that. I'm not saying to people feel comfortable with this genre. Yeah. I'm saying don't let it dictate your paranoia, your fear, or your faith. Like we cannot let that happen. We cannot continue to let that happen. Yeah. By the way, we're surrounded by more darkness than we ever see in films. Yeah. The real darkness is not that particular film. It's the neighbor next door who's maybe hurting his wife. It's that family member who keeps hurting us in this particular way. Yeah. It's the coworker who keeps stealing things that It's like we see real darkness
every day,
every single day. And sometimes this is the only redeeming quality, I think, of dark genre, is that it does give us a window as to how the wider culture thinks about evil.
Mm.
And I really want to stress that point. Because if we can see how pop culture, Hollywood, all these, if we can see how they think about a topic, a concept so strange like the devil, or a concept so personal like trauma, then we can at least responsibly as Christians try to converse with that. We can critically engage with it. I want young Christians to think critically about these things. And a lot of these films, they actually do expose something really dark within society. I don't know if you've ever noticed, but there's a lot of films that have these very tall, like slender creatures
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
that represent something dark.
Yeah,
And,
like
but they never really hurt anyone. They don't really devour. There's no blood or gore, but they're there and they creep you out.
Yeah.
But that dark monster that's visually scary is actually about a mom and a son who are separated emotionally. And there's this void that is, and the void is dragging the son away from the mom. People obviously they're not gonna catch that right off the bat when they see the visuals of a film like that. But the sub themes can always illuminate something that we can think about, that we can dialogue about. So I just wanted to kind of make that point.
Yeah.
Jesus went into a tomb, a very dark place, and Jesus speaks and demons scream, and yet he casts them out. So we can look at these things that seem to be screaming at us and that seem to have a potential to harm us, but we can shout back and say no, because we know there's a greater light. We know that there's a better thing behind us that can help us navigate those things. So my main point on that is, let us not be dominated by fear when it comes to that topic, and also critically understand that, you know what, there might be something in there that the general culture is probably thinking about that I can bring in and say, you know what, I see where y'all are coming from. Here's what the Bible does say. The Bible does affirm that, but it doesn't portray me this kind of God, the one that y'all are showing me. The Bible does speak about evil, but not the way you all are portraying it. Now we can dialogue about it. Now we can bring a biblical worldview and engage with this critically. That's kind of my little point on that.
Yeah.
The last topic, just to kind of close things off, is, there's also a genre called nonfiction, which is about real things. I don't know, is there a favorite nonfiction film that you...
Ooh, nonfiction. I really liked documentaries, right?
Documentary, real life biopics.
I liked the Michael Jordan documentary.
Michael Jordan?
Yeah, it showed a lot of the good, but then also how teammates actually perceived of him. Because he's a basketball player, and I mean, I'm pretty sure everyone knows Michael Jordan. Yeah. I know. I'd be like, wait, basketball player. Okay, but he, as known as the greatest of all time, right? Mm-hmm. He has all these accolades, everything, but there's also a side where people kind of feared him, where people were kind of like, whoa, like his teammates. There's so many stuff that came out about that, but then there's people that loved him. There's people that shared that relationship with him, that they were like, yeah, there was moments where there was a time to be serious, but then there's these moments where we just won 6 championships. Yeah. So it's like, you know what I mean? That'd be my favorite documentary.
I think, so that right there, what you just described to me, that I could see the emotion just coming out of you as you were saying that. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Nonfiction has the weird, and fiction too, but it has this weird ability to draw empathy out of us, because we see real stories that we either connect with, or we resonate with, or we aspire to. Yeah. And that's the beauty of watching visual media, that we can see it and experience it through our ears, through our senses, and we can connect with it. Nonfiction, these types of films, one of my favorite is Invictus. It's about Nelson Mandela and apartheid in South Africa. It's it's a Morgan Freeman, really great film, and it really shows you the struggle to unify a country divided by decades of centuries of racial segregation through soccer. I mean, it's just it's amazing. I haven't seen that. Wow. It's a great film. But that's what I'm saying. Like, it really makes you say, wow, there's a better way to do things. There's a good way to do things. We can fight evil. We can destroy injustice. And so it stimulates this thing in us. And we sometimes, I think, limit people's ability to engage with that by simply saying that film is not worth it.
Mm.
Film is worth it in a way. It can help us think about those things that are good and true if we know how to look for them and if we're willing to look for them. Because, and then one thing we haven't talked enough about, I think, I'm not talking about reality. How about reality TV? Because reality TV is the ultimate example of vanity, emptiness, things that, I'm sorry, like I've never, ever been a fan of The Bachelor and never will. That's just my personal opinion. I think some things just are not worth it.
I don't think I've ever seen The Bachelor either. Maybe like those YouTube shorts.
I've gone through an episode.
Really?
I've been able to get through an episode.
Like I saw one YouTube short probably in this last week where I'm thinking, because my idea is like, oh, this is like romance, right?
Yeah.
Like they're finding their partners and stuff like that, right? But that one clip was super full of vanity, full of lust.
A lot of lust.
Like of a different idea that I thought it was.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I think
sometimes those things can touch on real good points. But for the most part, it's for the views. They cater to audiences that maybe just want the ultimate brain rot.
Oh yeah.
And they do engage with it emotionally, but it's for the wrong reasons. Yeah. And that's scary. And that's where I kind of want to finish off. Look, we can enjoy a lot of media. We can watch a lot of films. How much, like your opening question, how much really depends on where you think it's appropriate. Yeah. I can't dictate that for you. Can't dictate that for me or anyone else. It's not our job or our place to do that. What we can say is grow in your faith, develop that, understand the biblical principles that guide us, and I think that'll be a great way for us to appreciate what's good out there visually in the media, challenge what's out there visually in media, and then we can find a healthy balance, I think, over time.
Yeah.
I want to finish with one quick story, and that is that my student, my friend told me of a guy that left playing jazz for so long because it just wasn't, it reminded him of his past life.
Wow.
Many, many years later, after growing in Christ, he was able to pick up his instrument again and start playing again. He was able to find a balance many years later, but he found what he needed most, which is faith.
Wow.
And I think that's my advice to anyone, is just develop that, nurture that, grow that first, your prayer, your devotion, your worship. Let that grow. Find answers to those questions that you're seeking. And I think everything else, including things like watching films, will eventually kind of find a decent balance where it's not too much, but also not enough that you can't enjoy something once in a while.
Yeah.
And that's kind of my takeaway for it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Today.
Wow, man.
It's a lot.
It is. And I feel like there's even more we can add to
there's
this.
way more, yeah.
There's way more, but a perfect way to start this topic.
Yeah.
And to have, because we were going to be going into a deeper dive later on in a couple episodes.
Yeah.
But thank you, man. Thank you for sharing that.
Man.
And the one thing I want to leave with the audience, to leave with you, is the thing that you said during this, and that's faith over fear. Don't let worldly man-made things bring you down in your faith, bring you down in different aspects of your life based on something that someone just told you. What's the evidence? Just think about it.
Can I end with this one little Bible verse?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Test everything. Hold fast to what is good. Abstain from evil.
Amen.
That's our little caveat for today.
Amen. Well, everybody, thank you for listening to our recent and newest episode of the Lighthouse podcast. We hope you guys have a blessed day. Make sure you guys check out our Instagram and all the other platforms for more content about faith, for more content about the Word of God, where we're trying to teach and learn more as well. God bless, and thank you, Leo, for coming on once again. I really appreciate you for coming on, and we'll see you guys on to the next episode. God bless.